Hello everyone, my name is Biplab and I am currently pursuing BTech from NIT Durgapur. So today I will teach you the cube root of unity, which is a very important topic for complex number. Now first of all, what is cube root? As you all know, if we multiply a value thrice by itself, the result will be the cube of the value. So if we multiply 3 by 3 times, the answer will be 27. So 27 is the cube of 3, and in the other hand we can say that cube root of 27 equals to 3. So this is very simple thing. Now if I ask you what is the cube root of 1, then you will very simply say that the cube root of 1 is 1. But is this the only value of the cube root of 1? So let's understand this in little bit more trickier way. So first of all, let's assume cube root of unity, or 1 we can say, is x. So what we can write from here? We can write that x cube equals to 1. Now if we take the 1 in the left hand side and if we apply the formula for factorization, what we will get? X minus 1 into x square plus x plus 1 equals to 0. Now as the product of two factors are 0, that means either the first factor will be 0 or the second factor will be 0. Now from here we can say that x equals to 1, and applying Sridharacharya to this quadratic formula, we can say that x equals to minus 1 plus minus 1 square minus 4 into 1 into 1 by 2. That means minus 1 plus minus root 3 by 2. So what we can write? As we know, root over of minus 1 means iota. So we can write minus 1 plus minus root 3 iota by 2. So one root is minus 1 plus root 3 iota by 2, and another is minus 1 minus root 3 iota by 2. So what roots we have got for x cube equals to 1? That is x equals to 1, x equals to minus 1 plus root 3 iota by 2, and x equals to minus 1 minus root 3 iota by 2. And as you all know, this is your real value and these are complex values, or there are imaginary part in these values. So let's assume this value as omega. You can also assume this is as omega, but in standard formula we take this is as omega. So omega is your minus 1 plus root 3 iota by 2. Now if you do squaring on the both side, what you will get? So do the square. Minus 1 by 4 minus 2 root 3 iota by 4 plus 3 by 4 iota square. That means 1 by 4 minus 3 by 4 minus root 3 by 2 iota. That means minus 1 by 2 minus root 3 by 2 iota. That means this is the value of this omega square. So what we can say, if this is your omega, this will be your omega square. So what we have actually got? We have got 3 cube roots of unity, that is 1 is omega and 1 is omega square. Now we are rewriting the values. X equals to 1, x equals to omega, and x equals to omega square. What was omega? That was minus 1 plus root 3 iota by 2, and omega square was minus 1 minus root 3 iota by 2. Now as you can simply say that omega is the conjugate of omega square. So what you can write, that omega is the conjugate of omega square, or vice versa, that is omega का conjugate कितना है? Omega square. Now you can also say that if you calculate the sum of these 3 cube roots of unity, what will come? So let's put the values of omega and omega square, and if you simplify that, you can very easily say that this will be cancelled out and the answer will be 0. So the sum of three roots or cube roots of unity will be nothing but 0. And if you talk about some more properties of cube roots of unity, then what we can say? That as omega is a root of x cube equals to 1. So from here we can say that omega cube will be 1, as this omega will satisfy this equation. Now if we calculate omega to the power 6, what it will come? It will be omega 3 ka whole square. So this will be 1 square, that will also be 1. So in the same way, what we can say, omega to the power 3n, that will also be 1. Now if you want to calculate omega to the power 3n plus 1, what will come? We can write that omega to the power 3n into omega, that means 1 into omega, that will be omega. And if you want to calculate omega to the power 3n plus 2, that will be omega to the power 3n into omega square, that will be 1 into omega square. So the answer will be your omega square. Now, so if I ask you some questions from here, that what will be the value of omega to the power 30, then you can very easily say that omega to the power 30 is nothing but omega to the power 3 whole to the power 10. So that means 1 to the power 10, that is 1. If I ask omega to the power minus 1000, what will be the value? Let's calculate. So if we calculate this, what will we get? Omega to the power minus 1000 equals to nothing but 1 by omega to the power 1000. And what we can write to omega to the power 1000? We can write omega to the power 3 whole to the power 333, that is 999 plus 1. That means 1 by omega to the power 3 into 333 into omega. So this will be your 1 and the answer will come 1 by omega. We can further simplify it and we can write 1 by omega equals to, as 1 is nothing but omega cube, so we can write omega cube by omega and the answer will be omega square. So let's understand some more properties along with it, some more graphical interpretation of this 1, omega and omega square. So first of all, if we say one root was 1, one root was omega and one root was omega square. This is minus 1 plus root 3 iota by 2 and minus 1 minus root 3 iota by 2. If we write this, we can write minus half plus root 3 by 2 into iota. And as you all know, we can write cos 2 pi by 3 instead of minus half, and sin 2 pi by 3 instead of root 2 pi by 3. So what we can write, that is e to the power iota 2 pi by 3 from the polar form. And in the same way, we can write this will be your e to the power iota 4 pi by 3. Okay, so we have three roots, 1 omega and omega square, and if you express this as polar format, we can write these also e to the power I into 0. So e to the power I into 0 pi by 3, e to the power I into 2 pi by 3, and e to the power I into 4 pi by 3. So this will be three roots of cube roots of unity in the polar format. Okay, now if we say 1 to the power p plus omega to the power p plus omega square to the power p, what will be this value? Consider p as any natural number. Now, if you take p as a value of multiple of 3, p is multiple of 3. So that means either it can be 3 or 6 or 9 like that. So what will come? 1 to the power 3n, omega to the power 3n plus omega square to the power 3n. And this will be also 1 omega to the power 3, that is also 1 omega square to the power 3n, that will also be 1. So the answer will come nothing but 3. Now if you take any non-multiple of 3 like 1 square plus omega square plus omega square plus square, so what will come? This is your 1, this is your omega square, this is omega to the power 4. Now if we simplify this omega to the power 4, what will come? You can simply write this is omega cube into omega, that means nothing but omega. And as we already calculated this value, 1 plus omega square equals to 0. So what we can finally say that 1 to the power p plus omega to the power p plus omega square to the power p will be 3 when p is multiple of 3, or 0 when p is not multiple of 3. Okay, and this will help you in various problems. Okay, so let's proceed with the next part. Now if we graphically represent these 3 points of cube roots of unity, one is your x equals to 1, one is minus half plus root 3 iota by 2, minus 1 minus half minus root 3 iota by 2. This is your omega, this is your omega, this is your omega, this is your omega square. Now this is your organ plane where you plot real values this side, you plot imaginary values this side. So the first point will be somewhat here, that is 1, 0, as the imaginary part is 0 here. This point, the real part is minus half and imaginary part is root 3 by 2. So this point will come somewhere here, and this point will come minus half minus root 3 by 2. So if you join these 3 points, you can note down some important characteristics of this. What are those characteristics? So first of all, if you take mod of omega square and mod of 1, what will be the values? Mod of omega will come minus half the square plus root 3 by 2 ka square. So this will be 1. And in the same way, mod of omega square will also be 1, and mod of 1 is also 1. So all the values as magnitude 1. That means distance from the origin, that will be 1. So if you take a circle having center as origin and radius as 1, these 3 points will lie on that circle. Okay, so what we are saying that these 3 roots, 1, omega and omega square, they are concyclic, that means they lie on the same circle, having center as origin and radius equals to 1. Okay, that's the first important characteristics. And if you also calculate that what is the distance between these 2 points, by the simple distance formula we can calculate this root over of x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. So this will be 0 and this will be root 3 square. So the answer will be 3 unit. Root 3 unit. So this length will be your root 3 unit, this will also be root 3 unit, and this will also be root 3 unit. If you calculate these distances also, I am showing 1. So if we take this point as P, this point is Q, this point is R, this is your center as origin. So what will be, this is your PR, then what will be your PQ? This will be minus half minus 1 square plus root 3 by 2 minus 0 square. So this will come minus 3 by 2, that means 9 by 4. This will come 3 by 4. So that is root over 12 by 4, that is root 3 unit. Okay, so in the same way you can also calculate this. This will also come root 3 unit. So what is the key understanding from here? That PQ equals to PR equals to Q1. That means these 3 points P, Q and R these 3 points P, Q and R form an equilateral triangle of length or side, we can say, that is root 3 unit, and you can very easily calculate the area also, that will be root 3 square by 4, where a is root 3. Okay, so that's the graphical representation of cube root of unity. Now let's understand some problems along with it. So your first question is, let's assume z equals to root 3 plus iota by 2. Then you have to find z to the power 100 plus iota to the power 100 whole to the power 50. You have to calculate this. Okay, so as you can see, z equals to root 3 plus iota by 2, and if we multiply both the numerator and the denominator by iota, what will come? That will be root 3 iota plus iota square by 2. And as you all know, iota square is nothing but minus 1. So this will come minus 1 plus root 3 iota by 2 iota. Now as you all know, minus 1 plus root 3 iota by 2 is nothing but omega. So we can see this will be omega by iota. And 1 by iota is nothing but minus iota. As you can very easily calculate, 1 by iota means 1 is iota square. So 1 is minus iota square, sorry. So this will be minus iota. Okay. So what will be the value of the z in simplification? That will be minus iota omega. Now if you calculate minus iota omega to the power 100 plus iota to the power 100 to the power 50. Now what is the iota to the power 100? As the minus to the power 100 will be plus, so iota to the power 100 will be nothing but iota to the power 4 whole to the power 25 omega to the power 3 into 33 plus 1 into iota to the power 4 whole to the power 25 to the power 50. As you know, iota to the power 4 is 1, so we can write this will be your omega, and this will be your 1, and this will be to the power 50. And as you already studied, 1 plus omega square equals to 0. So omega plus 1 will be minus omega square. So this will be minus omega square to the power 50. That means omega to the power 100. So what you can write? This will be omega to the power 3 whole to the power 33 into omega, that is 1, and this will be nothing but your omega. So I think you have got this point, that how to calculate and how to use that value of omega and omega square, okay, and use this kind of identities like 1 plus omega square equals to 0, 1 to the power p plus omega to the power p plus omega p to the power p equals to 3 when p is not a when p is a multiple of 3, or when p is not a multiple of 3, the answer will be 0. So let's understand some more problems along with that. Before that, I will show some interesting things, like we have already factorized a cube plus b cube now. So what is the result? You all know, that is a plus b into a square minus ab plus b square. Now if I simply write this, here is minus 1 hidden, so instead of minus 1, what we can write? Let's see, 1 plus omega square is your 0, so omega plus omega square will be minus 1. So instead of minus 1, what we can write? 1 omega plus omega square into ab plus b square. Now if you further factorize this, what will come? A square plus omega ab plus omega square ab plus b square equals, and if you take common from here, so from the first two you can take a as common, so it will come a plus omega b, and from the second two you can take b as common, so what will come? omega square a plus b. Okay, and let's further take some commons from here to match these two. So we are taking omega square also common. So what will come? This will be a and this will be b by omega square. And if you see that your 1 by omega square is nothing but omega cube by omega square, as 1 is nothing but omega cube, so this will be your omega. So a plus b into a plus omega b plus omega square b into a plus b omega. So what will be the final answer? That will be a plus b into a plus omega square b into a plus omega b. So this will be the new factorization in the terms of 1 omega and omega square. You can write to the a cube plus b cube. And similarly for a cube minus b cube, you can use that a minus b into a minus b omega into a minus b omega square. And a cube plus b cube plus c cube minus 3abc. What you can write, that is a plus b plus c into a plus b omega plus c omega square into a plus b omega square plus c omega. Okay, this is your homework. You can check it on your own, and if any doubt you can inform me. Okay, now let's understand one more problem and with that. So we are taking another problem. This will be little bit more trickier one and punched with some more chapters. So let's see that. So I am giving you one series, that is 1 into 2 minus omega into 2 minus omega square plus 2 into 3 minus omega into 3 minus omega square plus 3 into 4 minus omega into 4 minus omega square dot 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 n terms. Omega, what is that? You already know. So what you have to find? You have to find sum of n terms. Okay. Now, if you see the symmetry here, that is 1 into 2 minus omega or 2 into 3 minus omega. So we are adding a term to maintain the symmetry. 0 into 1 minus omega into 1 minus omega square. This will be 0. So adding this will not differentiate with the main question. And dot 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 n terms. Okay. So if you want to write the general term, what will be this? See that for the first term it is 0, it is 1, it is 2. Okay. So for the n term it will be nothing but n minus 1. Okay. This is your 1 minus omega for the first term. For the second term it is 2 minus omega. For the third term it is 3 minus omega. So it will be n minus omega. This is n minus omega square. This will be 1 minus omega square, 2 minus omega square, 3 minus omega square. So we can write in the n term, this will be n minus omega square. Okay. So what will be your Tn? Tn is nothing but n minus 1 into n minus omega into n minus omega square. Okay. So if you further calculate this, what you will get? That is n minus, actually if you multiply this, n square minus omega plus omega square whole into n plus omega cube. So what will come? N minus 1 into n. This will be your minus 1 as you already calculated. Omega cube is your 1. So the answer is n minus 1 into n square plus n plus 1. So this will be nothing but n cube minus 1. Now if you find the sum of n terms, that will be summation of Tn, that is n equals to 1 to n. So summation of n equals to 1 to n, or you can take k equals to 1 to n. Tk maybe. Both are same actually, you can take anything. So the answer will be n cube minus n, the summation, and if you isolate these summations, what will come? This summation of x cube will be n into n plus 1 by 2 a whole square, and this will be your n. So this will be your final answer. So what we have studied today? We have studied the cube roots of unity, where 3 roots are 1 omega square. We have studied some important properties like 1 plus omega square equals to 0, or 1 to the power p plus omega to the power p plus omega square to the power p. That will be 0 when p is not multiple of 3n, and when p is multiple of 3n, this will be 3. And some more graphical interpretation and very important problems like that. So you can further practice these problems from any standard books or any references. Okay, and this cube roots of unity has very importance, like in the field of signal processing and in the finding many symmetry and complex root. You can use this. Okay, so for today this is the end of the class. Thank you.